Hello, everyone. How are you? It is so good to see all of you here as we take another trip on our journey, our year-long journey on Cox Campus. I'm really glad to have all of you here, and we're going to talk a little bit today about literacy workstations. But before we get started, I'd like to know more about you. So if you could drop in the chat what state you're from. Let's do that one first. Let's find out where everyone is from. So, we got Georgia on my mind, okay. Oklahoma, wow, so good to have you. Mississippi, next door to my hometown. New Zealand, Florida, New York, Michigan, Atlanta, Virgin Islands. Wow, this is awesome. Okay, Austin, Texas, Michigan, Maryland, okay. Is that everyone? Okay. Well, we're here in Georgia. I will say that my hometown is Alabama. I think I saw an Alabama partner online. So we're all glad to have you. It's so exciting to be with you today. Okay, so the next question is, how confident do you feel in your current knowledge about literacy workstations? Let's do a scale of 1 to 10. So 1 being not so confident, 10 being you are confident and you're on it. If you can let us know how confident you are. We have a 6, 7, 5, 8, 10. Okay. 3. Very comfortable. Okay, 8. Great. So it seems like most people are right there in the middle, like 6, 7, 8. That's where most people are. So that's great. Hopefully after today's session, you will have more information and you'll feel a little bit more confident about literacy workstations. Okay, so to tell you a little bit about me. So my name is Cheryl Kirksey and I am a K-3 facilitator at the Rollins Center. I have over 30 years of experience. I'm dating myself, but I have over 30 years of experience in education. 20 of those years were spent in a first, second, or third grade classroom. And literacy stations was one of my favorite things to do, most favorite things to do. I spent a couple of years as a principal in a primary school, grades K through 3. And I worked at the Department of Ed and a literacy program, and I've been at Rollins for 10 years. This is my 10-year anniversary. August 20th will be my 10-year anniversary. And I just like to highlight a quote from Nelson Mandela, that education is the most powerful weapon that we can use to change the world. That's one of my favorite quotes. And I just love working with teachers and students. So that's a little bit about me. We want to just highlight some of our core values at Cox Campus. You will find Cox Campus rewarding, empowering, connecting, safe, and essential. You will find tons of resources that you can use and implement almost on day one from Cox Campus. And we just love that you're part of this community. Also, okay, so Cox Campus was built by experts, educators, families, and healthcare professionals, because we sometimes look at those as being separate entities. But if we're going to educate our children in the right way, then all of these groups are going to have to come together and work for the betterment of our children and get them where they need to be. So we're really, really happy to have you here. Today's session can be, if you have to leave early or if you want to tell a friend about it, you can tell your friends to go to Cox Campus, to the website, and you will find courses, you will find resources, you're going to find a community that you can be involved with. And everything is free due to generous donations from donors. And we're very happy and delighted to have them. So make sure you sign up if you haven't. And if you're not on your laptop, guess what? You can sign up on your mobile device. So we're trying to make it very easy for you to sign up, because I think you will not be displeased if you sign up for Cox Campus. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. Okay, so today we're going, we have 3 objectives today. We're going to identify steps in organizing your classroom to support literacy workstations. We want to develop plans for more efficient use of time for you and your students. And we want to talk about differentiated activities. And I can't wait to hear, because I get most of my good information from other teachers. I cannot wait to hear some of your ideas and what you're doing in your class currently with literacy workstations, but we want to apply differentiated activities that's going to maximize student engagement in growth in the literacy skills. So those are the 3 things that we want to cover today. Okay, so let's first of all talk about what is a literacy workstation. So literacy workstations are special places within the classroom where students can work alone, or they can interact with one another to do 3 things. We want them to practice, demonstrate, and extend their learning independent of the teacher. But as teachers, we're going to have to set them up for success. And there are 2 main benefits for literacy workstations, and that is reinforcement and extension. It is not a place for students to go and learn new information. As we said, it's for reinforcement and to extend what they've already learned, or to practice what they have learned with the teacher. Okay, can we go to the next? Yeah, there we go. So those are our 2 main things that we want to do. All right, so where do we start? First of all, we need to start with optimal class setup. The class setup can make or break our literacy workstations. So one of the things that we need to consider is, where are we going to have our whole group area? We need to identify walls and open floor spaces for interaction. And this space could also be double duty. It could be used for the child-centered work as well. So I know that most classrooms have a rug. We gather our children on the rug. do morning meeting, do read alouds, and various things like that. So we need that whole group area. But as I said, it could be double duty for a small group lesson as well. Also, some classrooms have, and all classrooms are different. I mean, I've even me as a teacher, I had some classrooms where I was like, wow, everything that I could have dreamed of was there. But then there were some times that I had to improvise and create spaces for my small group. As Ari said, we have resources on Cox Campus that can help you plan your small group. So the next important place, so the first important place is having a whole group area for your class. The next important place is to have a small group instruction area. Ideally, a kidney-shaped table. It doesn't have to be. I waited, as a teacher, I think I waited 5 years to get a kidney table. I was so delighted when I finally got one. But it could be any area. You just need a designated area where you're going to engage with your students in small group explicit lessons. And that area is designated work areas for, you want a place for children. So we want it at our child's level, and also an area for our teachers. It's also an area where when you take if you've not taken the small group class, you will hear the facilitator talk about having areas to have your work organized. So when you have a group coming back to the table, your work is at your fingertips. So those are two important areas in our classroom. Now, also, when you have the whole group area and you have the small group areas, you need to make sure that you can, as a teacher, you can see all areas of the classroom. Here is a classroom that's set up with beautiful lettering and children's work and things of that sort. So this is a large area that teachers can have their whole group engaged in whatever activity that they need to do as a whole group. She had space to put anchor charts on the board. The lighting is cute, it's cozy, and we do want our children, when I was a teacher, I wanted my classroom to feel like home to my students. So when they came in, everything had a place, but it felt like home. It was nice and cozy. Can you drop in the chat some things that you're proud of in your classroom that makes it nice and cozy and a place for students to gather? Okay, I don't see any. Yeah, okay. Okay, so he's posted the template for planning small groups. Oh, cushions and bean bags. Definitely cushions and bean bags. Having children's work, pillows, soft furniture, letter buckets nearby, lamps. Oh my gosh, lamps make the room so cozy. So that's really, really, really nice. Lighting, colorful boards. I love all of these. You guys have a calm down spot with tools for regulation, rocking seats and pillows. Wonderful. Stuffed animals. Oh my goodness, yes, because a lot of times when they have a book, they want to read to their stuffed animal. Oh, tents in the library. I want to come to some of these classrooms. Somebody wants the PowerPoint email to them. Okay, wonderful. So these are really, really, really great, great tools that you have in your classroom that makes a child want to come in and sink down and learn. a place to hang their artwork, that they make for them. That's really nice too, because they love to make artwork for their teachers. And someone said, and I've heard a lot of this, that they have to improvise for COVID. So, we're used to like everybody kind of like gathering in little nooks and crannies, but due to COVID, we have to improvise, and that is true. Oh, I love the beach umbrella with the group table. So those are all really, really, really good places for your children to gather and learn and have conversations with each other and get their work done, or do their small group activities. Okay, so can we go to the next slide? Those are wonderful, very good responses, and I love all of them. Okay, so again, where do we start? We said optimal classroom setup, having a whole group area and having a small group area. I would like to say too that some classes have 2 adults, like you might have a para, or you may have another teacher who comes in to do lessons. So I want to encourage you to make sure that there's a spot for that teacher too. So a small table or a small area to make sure that teacher has a spot too. And you will hear, as you watch the video on the small group instruction, the Literacy Center video, you will see that in action. Okay, so now when we start literacy centers, we're not just gonna say, okay, all right, we had our read aloud. Now go to your literacy center. We have to pre-teach. We have to pre-teach, one, how to walk to the center. We have to have a noise level chart. Some classrooms, I see a 0, maybe 0 to 5. And if you have a 0 to 5, you can't just put 0 to 5, like 0 means silent, 1 means talk, whisper, 3. You have to practice those things. So in going in a classroom, you have to say, okay, let's practice 0, or let's see what 2 should sound like. It's important for students to know, because just those are just numbers to them. They need to practice and know what those different levels of voice levels sound like. Also, we need to pre-teach each center activity before we place it in a center for independent practice. That means you can do it whole group, or you can do it preferably at your small group table, especially if it's something related to the skill that they are studying. So you need to pre-teach it, and then you can put a different activity in the center, different content, but the activity will be the same. So it says, remember that literacy centers you are to practice previously taught skills. It is not for a new activity. Okay, so that's one thing we do. If we can go to the next slide. Okay, here. So what are the steps to implementing centers? That was the one that we talked about. So the other part is, what do you know? What activity do you want them to practice? So that will come from their assessment data. So if you have students in your small group that may be doing CBC words, then having a CBC activity at one of the centers would be helpful. Okay. Oh, we have a question about inside versus outside voice. Okay, can you let me know what the question is? Oh, well, someone asked, say, am I outdated with inside and outside voices? That is, inside and outside voices is a thing. But in the classroom, there are different levels of volume that we want kids to practice and experience. So if we say inside voices, what does that mean? Does that mean to whisper? But if you have them, say, doing a partner read or decodable read aloud, taking turns, they need to know what level their voices can be, because it has to be loud enough for their partner to hear. So those are the type things that I was saying practice, because inside and outside is, I think it's too broad, because outside, is fine. You can scream and shout and do whatever, but inside we have different levels. So that's what I'm talking about. Does that answer the question? But I used to say that too as a teacher. Use your inside voice, okay, not your outside voice. But as I continue to work with students and have them in their centers, I mean, they have to talk with each other. We don't have silent classrooms. There has to be talking. They just need to know what level to speak in. Okay. The next thing is we want to, just a minute, my thing is going out. We need to make sure that, I think I said this earlier, that the activities are appropriate. So as we said, we want to practice and extend. So whatever they've done in small group with you, with the teacher, we want them to be able to practice that maybe in another with other content. But that is, those are the appropriate activities, because as we said, it's practice and extension. So if you're doing CBC word, I keep saying CBC words, or you're doing long vowels, then just give them extra words that they did not use with you in your small group to support their skills and their strategies for learning. Also, plan center activities for groups of students working at the same level and skills. That's what we just talked about. And we don't always have to have our groups, we don't always have to have them group with the same skill. It may be you've done a read aloud, and the activity in the small group would be retelling, and you can do the retell rope. And so all the kids you can do a mixed ability in that type of group. So because we don't want our kids to be labeled as this is the group that does this and this is the group that does that. We want to make sure that at some point we have an intermingling of our students to make sure that we have mixed abilities, so that we won't get those stigmas that sometimes comes with students in their groups. Okay. Okay, so here are some decisions that we must make. And if you have some insight, I would love to hear, because I said we share activities and ideas with each other as educators. But when you're thinking about planning your centers, here's some decisions that you need to make. One is, will your centers be used in different areas throughout the room, or will students take the centers back to their desk? And that all depends on the setup of your classroom. Some rooms, there's the space to do that. But sometimes students pick up a big manila envelope or a bin, and they take it back to their desk. I'd love to hear what some of you do. How do you organize your center materials? How are they going to know what to get? I will say that pictures work wonderful. Pictures are wonderful for instructions if kids aren't able to read it. And as we said, how do you determine which students go to which centers? So that means your purpose. You have to think about your purpose. The purpose is the purpose to extend what they did in small group, or is it to, do you want to have a mixed ability group maybe and talk about the read aloud that you've done earlier? So when we are determining which center they go to, we have to think about our purpose. How will you introduce center routines and procedures? One of the things that we talked about the noise level, the voice level, like what level that we're going to use here. And sometimes I've seen teachers that just take a number and they might put 2 or 3 up on the board, and the kids know that's the voice that we're going to use right now. Also, we need to have them practice walking to the center, doing it, cleaning up, all of these things. It seems like that this is something that they just know how to do, but don't take that for granted. This needs to be practiced. Someone said they use pictures with words on shelves. That's great. I have a word work center, and within the center, there are different colored folders, right? Great strategy. But at the beginning of the year, sometimes instead of doing a small group, or you could do a small group and then but you're not necessarily intently teaching, but this is, you're saying, okay, we're coming to this small group. And then let's go back to our seat and let's see, and help them practice. Like, what do you take back? How do you go back? One of the things that we did in the classroom, we had this beautiful little chime bell, and we would do 3 chimes, hit it 3 times. That's to get ready to clean up. 2 times to stand, and then 1 time maybe it's time to move to your next place. So teachers have wonderful activities. Sometimes people use lights. I've seen people do the rain stick. Seen a lot of different great ideas for moving from one place to the other. But what I really want to stress is, don't assume that they know how to do it. We have to teach them how to do it. We have to teach them how to put up the materials. We have to teach them how to, when you get the cleanup signal, it's time to clean up. So all of those things have to be taught. Okay. Someone said I use bins to organize some of my literacy workstations. Assessments, yep, definitely. Assessments will definitely help you know what they need to practice on. That's a very good point. How will you assess centers and hold students accountable? So suppose they go back and just play and don't really get anything done. Has anyone, give me a thumbs up if anybody has had that happen in their classroom. Okay, the rotation chart. Okay, I'm loving these ideas that you guys are shooting in the chat. They're like really wonderful. Someone mentioned the rotation chart, and that's really, really good. We used to name groups, let students, sometimes we let them come up with their names. I kind of start staying away from that and coming up with some other ideas, because sometimes it's a stigma, like the Redbirds, oh, the Redbirds, they don't know how to read, you know, and we don't ever want that to happen. But I mean, it happens, but we just want to try to do whatever we can to avoid that. Someone said, one thing I do at the end of a rotation was to have learners share what they did to work towards their goal. They had to name the activity and skill that they practiced and how it made them closer to their goal. Very, very good idea. Very good. And I see even a kindergarten teacher said that they had something similar. But yes, there are different accountability pieces. That's one accountability piece. Sometimes teachers have they have like maybe a map or something, and have the kids color in where they've been, the maps of the different centers, color in where they've been. So all of those are really, really excellent ideas. Okay. And if a student is not completing their task, I think that's just the time to have a conversation, tell them the importance of it, of the activity, not to be punitive, but to just pull them aside at some point, not when everybody's looking, but just said, hey, I noticed that you're not getting any of your center work done. What can we do to make it happen? Because I really want you to learn these short vowel sounds. So just having a quick little conversation with them can sometimes help them to get on board, or think of something good that they've done to help boost their morale, to help them move on. A not finished basket where they drop their stuff off when they need more time. I love that idea. That is really great. We just want our classrooms to be safe in terms of students being able to talk about what may be giving them problems, or to be able to say, hey, I really don't know how to do this, because sometimes they don't want to say that. But all of these ideas that you guys are putting out helps me to see that you have safe classrooms. We want our kids to feel safe. If they don't know how to do something, to say, I didn't get it, I don't understand. And we want to keep those doors open at all times. Okay. So some people said that they did a center rotation chart. What are some other things that you do for, I love this community that we have here in sharing ideas. I think it's really wonderful. What are some other things? You have a center rotation chart. What are some other ideas that you have for students in their centers? Buddy up. Oh, okay. Buddy up is great to help children with extra work. Colors, okay. All these are great. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful ideas. Okay, so we talked about how students change activities and rotate, and we had some really good ideas on that. We talked about expectations for behavior in terms of them completing their work, and also in voice levels. What should students do if they don't know what to do in a center? I've heard ask 3 and then me. But what is let me hear from you on that. What if they don't know what to do? Like, it would really mean the whole group probably didn't get it. What do you do? Floor spinner. Okay. Floor spinner, that once a child spins, that's the area that they go to. They know to ask questions. Okay, good, reteach. And that's part of the culture of our classroom. We want them to feel comfortable saying, I don't really get it. I don't know how to do this. So we want them, because a lot of times children, that's when they start to get in trouble, because they don't know what to do. And they're embarrassed to ask. They're embarrassed to ask you. But we just want to drive home that we want safe classrooms so that students do feel comfortable asking. Now, if you're working with a small group, I used to put a visor on and put like a clothespin on the visor. When I had that clothespin on my visor, they knew that that was not a good time because I need to maximize my time with my small group. But they knew that there were other people in the classroom that they could ask. So as I said, we want to make sure that we have a safe environment so that they can ask questions. And then that practice is also important in helping them to understand what to do. So we talked about introducing the centers and routines, and we talked about holding the students accountable to make sure that they are completing the work in the center. Okay. Okay. Another point that thank you. Organizing and setting up centers, we want to rotate new items through periodically. So we don't want to put a lot of new things at one time because that's overwhelming. So we want to make sure that we're rotating new items periodically, maybe one time a week or something like that. So we don't want to overwhelm them with a lot of new things because that's going to create confusion for them and a headache for you. So we want to make sure that we are being thoughtful about that. Instruction should be differentiated by skill level. But as we talked about, we can also venture out and do mixed ability groups at some point. But we really want to focus on the differentiated skill levels and giving them that practice in those areas. Introducing meaningful activities can take multiple days. Don't beat yourself up or get disheartened if it takes several days for them to understand the center. You might want to do just one little, maybe break it up into threes and do a little bit at a time. Also, make sure that there are things like when you finish your center, what do you do next? They need to understand that. They need to practice that. All of these need to be practiced. And so they can, they'll know that instead of sitting back saying, okay, I'm done, got it all done. They always need to know that there's something else that they can do. Have them show us what to do or act like. I don't know what I'm supposed to do in that center. I'm not sure if I understand that question. Okay. So make sure you include meaningful activities that take multiple days, since a child can continue working anytime he goes to a station. So if they have their little bin and they didn't finish and it's time for center time to be over, they can put all their work in their bin, and then the next day they can pick up with that bin. Okay, I'm trying to also read your chats. Thank you. I think someone mentioned having an unfinished basket, which is really great. So that's another form of, coming back to it the next day, which I think is really, really good. Okay, now I really want to hear from you. Activities that reflect practice of skills that students need to reinforce. What are some skills? What are some activities that you use to practice their skills? We talked about, well, okay, just give me some ideas. I'm not gonna I just want to hear from you because you guys are the best, are the best resources. Okay, show what they do. Cheryl, what's the ideal amount of time to allot for centers? So basically, I say 15 to 20 minutes. I try to have it timed along with what my small group is. If I need them to rotate, it just depends on how you want to set it up. You might say, okay, this group needs to have, I can have two small groups and they can still work on this same center. But usually that's a lot for a young child to have to sit and do something for 30 minutes. So I say 15 to 20 minutes. I think that's the optimal time. That's what time that I see most classrooms spend, 15 to 20 minutes. Does anybody have any other ideas on that? Okay, one of the things we need to think about are what are some intentional centers and what are they going to gain from the center? We do not want it to be busy work. So something like rainbow writing. If they're just copying words from the board and they're changing colors for every letter, we have to think about, does that really have any value in moving them ahead in reading? Does anybody, can I hear from someone about that? I know that it keeps them busy because they're changing colors for every letter, but we don't want center work to be busy work. We want it to be engaging and we want it to be beneficial to them to move along. Also, another really good center activity that is decodable readers. Usually in your small group, when you've done your phonics lesson and they've practiced, you've gone through the decodable reader, the kids love it that they can read that book. That's an activity that they can take back and work on using a decodable reader. It doesn't have to be a reader. It could be a list of words that they've used, that you've worked on in the center. So I would have like a little Ziploc bag. I'd have, if I'm doing short A, I would have a short A decodable word book in that bag. I would have a list of short A words. I would have words that they could make, like pictures, and then they could write the letters for that picture. So we want them to practice what they've done in small group. We really want to stay away from just doing busy work. Like this will keep them quiet for a while. So we want to make sure we're very intentional with our literacy centers. My centers are level-based, so all kids think they're doing the same thing, but that's wonderful. But the assignments are differentiated. Wonderful. That is really good. So they don't think, oh, that group's doing this, and how come I can't do that? Everybody's doing the same thing, but on their level. Students sit down and pick from under the chair a number, letter, or shape based on what the student chooses. He will find something in the classroom that is that shape, that color, starts with the letter, find a number. Okay. Good ideas. But yes, we do need to make sure our centers are differentiated. So one thing that we don't want to do, and I did this as a teacher, and I see a lot of teachers doing it now, and I say, don't spend all of your money and all of your time trying to come up with something cute. I see a lot, especially teachers, and I know that's the creative side of teachers, right? We like to make things and we like to make it look really good, but always come back to what's the purpose. So don't go and spend all your weekend making centers. You can have the centers and just change the content within the centers. So don't spend all your money and all of your time making centers. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Okay, someone said that activity sounded like a lot of fun. Teachers are some of the most creative beings around, and we learn from each other. And I love being in schools where it's not competitive, but it is safe, and for someone to come in and ask, hey, tell me what you do. I'm not getting this. This is not working for me and my students. So that's why we are a community. And that's why we have Cox Campus, because we have lots of resources for you to take back from Cox Campus. The videos can give you some idea. The resources would be very helpful to you. We have the assessments to help you find out where your kids are and how to group them. And we also have a course called the ecosystem. The ecosystem is the most important place to start. So making sure your ecosystem is right, because in the right ecosystem, kids are going to thrive, just like plants in a terrarium. It's set up just right so they thrive. And that's what we want for our students. We want them to thrive in their environment. So making sure that the tone, the feel, they love coming in, the activities are not frustrating, but they're able to learn from it. So all of that's really, really important. So if you're not taking the ecosystem course, please think about doing it, because it really has some really good information. And as the chat says, that we have tons of resources and tools for you to add to your toolbox to help create literacy workstations. So does anyone else have any? I love the trainings. Talk with me, baby. Yes, definitely. Talk with me, baby. My daughter just had a baby, and I had her watch that course, take that course to help her understand the importance of talking to the baby starting in the 3rd trimester. So that's really, really good. Wonderful. So are there any questions, or let's shoot out some ideas? I love the ideas that I've seen people sharing. And that's what we do as teachers, right? We share ideas and resources. And we're glad Cox Campus is also here with an abundance of resources that you can use in your classroom. Okay. We have a partnership with Marietta City Schools. It's called Literacy and Justice for All. And we would like for you to listen to some of these educators and their stories about implementing the science of reading and putting it in action. We talk a lot about the science of reading, but it's amazing, and we get amazing results when we put it into action. Okay, Ari, are you gonna? Oh, okay. And we have an upcoming session on March 31st. It's called Response to Intervention. That's a hot topic item because that's gonna help move our kids further along when we implement response to intervention. So we invite you to come back on March 31st at 3 o'clock to our next session.